Okay, guys, let me be very clear. If you see a thread hanging out from your pet's butt, don't pull it out. Hi, guys, I'm Dr. Bhumika. I'm a veterinary surgeon and I treat a lot of pets every day. Today's story is about string. So this was about a month ago. This young girl and her brother brought in their family pet to me with a very strange history. It was a pug, a healthy young pug, female pug. And around 4 days ago, 3 or 4 days ago, their father had seen a piece of string hanging out from the pet's rectum. So upon seeing the thread, what he did was he proceeded to yank it out with all of his force. The poor animal went through a lot of pain, screamed, yelped, shouted around for a few minutes, and then ever since that incident, she stopped eating. She stopped, being active and playful and happy, and she was mostly dull, lethargic, not eating, vomited a few times. So for the vets watching this video, you know that this can lead to potentially very serious situations. But for the non-vets, let me just explain in a short, sweet way. When you see thread hanging out of the butthole, you assume that if you pull it, all of the thread is going to come out. But that might not be the case. The other end of the thread might be stuck somewhere. It might be stuck somewhere in the stomach, the small intestine, large intestine, somewhere along the entire digestive tract. Sometimes it's also stuck at the base of the tongue, and from there it is traveled all the way through the GIT. And if you're pulling from this end, you're going to cause a lot of trauma to the intestines. Either the string is going to cut through parts of the intestine. Sometimes it causes something called as intestinal plication, which means all your intestines are going to get bunched up together, one through the other. Sometimes that is called intussusception. So ideally, you can create a lot of dangerous situations for your pet just by the simple action of trying to pull out the thread. So luckily for this patient, after most of our diagnostics were run, we managed to rule out any functional obstruction as such by the intestines twisting or going inside each other, etc., etc. So there's not no obstruction, but the damage to the intestines was still quite significant. One is that. Second is we didn't know if there was any string still left inside, which could have caused an issue later. We stabilized the animal with all of the IV fluids, pain medication, preemptive antibiotics, all of that. However, we were still very much considering the option of surgery because if the damage to the intestine is quite severe, sometimes we do need to go in surgically to repair it and also to remove any string if in the process we find any. However, this pug was very, very, very lucky, wherein she improved drastically in just 3 or 4 days of medication. A bit of string even came out with whatever oral medications she was on. The whole family. So initially, when they realized that this whole thing happened and the pug and that poor pet went through all of this because of something they did, they were very guilty. The poor girl and her brother were crying every day. A couple of days, the father, the mother, everybody came, and especially when we spoke about surgery, they were very scared. They were very guilty. And when the pug began recovering, you should have seen the change in all of their faces. So this story had a happy ending, but I know of so many others who have not been that fortunate. They've had to go through surgery, or sometimes they were just too late. So the moral of the story is very simple. I know it's very tempting when you see string hanging out of your cat or your dog's bum to pull on the thread to remove it. But please don't pull on the thread. Take your pet to the nearest vet, and they will do what is necessary for it. The end.